Welcome to the 28th Angle podcast, where your host, Shelley,
Victoria,
and Heather
are here to hang out, have some fun, and share our different perspectives on a variety of topics. So let's get into it. Hey, welcome back.
Hi guys.
Happy hump day.
Happy Wednesday.
So how is everybody's weekend? I know we talked about what we were going to do, but how was the weekend?
I think it was good. It was long, even though we have 3 days off. It's been long, so I'm excited to do nothing tomorrow. To be honest.
Yeah, me too. I mean, today wasn't bad for me, but yeah, Phoebe's celebration was a lot of fun. I think she enjoyed it. We found a really cool antique mall, which is something she loves to do anyway. So we spent like hours there because it was huge. So
Yeah, it was so
Oh,
huge,
that
but it was
sounds
so
fun.
cool. It was a really cool store.
Really
I
Was
will
cool.
it
go back
better
for
than the
sure.
one we went to that one time?
me and you,
Well, all of us. It's a couple months ago.
yeah, it was. I mean,
That wasn't
I don't
really
know.
antique.
That
it
was
was more flea
different.
market.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was more of a flea market. This one was like an antique mall. Like it was just nothing but
Oh,
antique stuff in it. Like
you
so.
have to tell me where it's at because we like doing that stuff too. So kind of
Yeah,
cool.
it was a lot.
It was cool. Yeah,
It was
really
cool. And Phoebe wants to go back, so me and her will probably have to take a trip there one day. Other than that, it was fun. Yeah, and we had dinner with everybody, and it was nice. It was fun.
We had
Tammy and Bashan went out to eat for our little mommy son date to Cece's, and he had a blast. So
oh yeah, you sent pictures of that. It was cute.
Yeah, he loves CC's, doesn't he?
yeah, he loves Cece's. He ate like 2 plates of salad. Like,
Oh wow.
the kid loves salad.
We had Grayson's 7th birthday today.
Yeah, how'd that go? Was that fun?
It was cute. Yeah, it was fun, but it was really, really hot. And it was outside at a park, but we were under like those shaded whatever areas. So there's
Yeah.
picnic tables there and stuff.
We're
But
still
it was so
preheating
windy.
in Florida, Shelley.
Hmm?
It's only gonna get hotter. We're still preheating in Florida.
I know.
It's only gonna get hotter.
I know. But like I don't know, like being on that part of that side of Florida, like closer to the water, there was a lot of wind. So it was like super windy, so I think that really helped with the heat and stuff, but
I
It was
know.
a
I
good
was
day.
outside today for like, I don't know, a very short time. And I was like, it is way too hot out here right now. So,
Yeah, I had
so I
I
did
had
my
a pool
quota.
party, so
Yeah,
I was
you had
outside too.
oh, you did? Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
So I did my quota for the month for being outside. So
Well,
that's it.
I didn't go swimming, but we took all the kids and they all had a fun. They went swimming and stuff. Matter of fact, I brought my bathing suit just in case I wanted to go swimming, and Brielle did not. And so Brielle ended up saying, "I wish I
Use
brought
yours.
my bathing suit, Mom." And I said, "Go ahead, go put it on, child."
That's funny how
So-
that works.
So they took my swimsuit and went swimming.
Of course they did.
Cool.
Good thing you did that.
Advantages. I know the advantages of having a teenager that fits your clothes. And then it was like later, Danica's like, "Well, I didn't bring a towel because I seen you had 2." And I said, "Yeah, well, I brought 2 for children like you who, don't bring their own towels, or just like I brought my bathing suit apparently for my children who don't bring their bathing suit."
To a pool party.
Anyways,
Yeah, to a pool party. Yeah, that's true.
it was fun, but it was.
Oh, kids are
I'm
so
exhausted.
strange.
I'm exhausted.
Strange creatures they are.
Yeah, for real.
All right. So today's episode, we are jumping back into part 2 of Leap Castle. Gonna do kind of the same style. Again, another shout out to SN Graves for doing such an amazing job for us in this. I've thoroughly enjoyed learning all about it and reading all about it and telling this story type. This will probably be the last of the series, maybe for a little while. And then if anybody's interested in getting more episodes, I do have a couple more that I could do. So we'll see where it goes from there, or what the case may be. But
For Leap Castle specifically, or you mean?
yeah, Leap Castle has got so much to it that I could definitely do at least like 1 or 2 more episodes about Leap Castle specifically. But I don't want to go crazy with it, so we'll see. I just don't want to have any more. We don't have any more planned right this second, but that doesn't mean that we won't get into it or circle back around to it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, sure.
So we're ready to go? You guys ready? You ready to learn about the elemental?
I don't know if I want to learn about this guy or thing, entity. But
okay. Well, too bad. No, I'm kidding.
Too bad. Too sad. All right, let's go.
Okay, so close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the stench of sulfur thick in the air, a chilling drop in temperature, and the feeling of something watching you. That's the presence that haunts Leap Castle. That's the elemental. In our last episode, we explored the chilling history of Leap Castle, delving into the bloody legacy of the O'Carroll clan and meeting the spectral figures that roam its halls. We spoke of the tragic children, Emily and Charlotte, the mournful woman on the stairs, the vengeful Red Lady, and the priest forever trapped in his bloody chapel. But we saved the most terrifying tale for last, the story of the entity known as the Elemental. The Elemental, a name that whispers of something primal, something ancient, something inherently wrong. It is the embodiment of darkness that permeates Leap Castle, the culmination of centuries of suffering and malevolence. It's the entity that lurks in the shadows, the presence that chills you to the bone even when you can't see it. It's the horror that whispers in the stones, the terror that waits in the darkness. Descriptions of the elemental are fragmented, like reflections in a shattered mirror, each account adding another piece to this grotesque puzzle of its form. Some perceive it as a small, hunched figure shrouded in a blue-gray mist, its face a mask of decay with empty sockets for eyes and a gaping maw where the nose should be. Its skin, they say, has a texture of rotting cotton, clinging to a skeletal frame. Others describe a more bestial form, a creature of fur and claws, its eyes burning with an unholy light, its movements swift and predatory. But all accounts on one unsettling detail. Its presence is accompanied by an overwhelming stench of sulfur, a smell that clings to the air, a visceral reminder of something ancient and evil. This is the creature we will confront today. This is the Elemental. The origin of the Elemental are shrouded in mystery, lost in the mist of time and legend. One theory connects it to the very land itself, suggesting it's a primal entity bound to the site long before the castle was even built. A malevolent force that predates human habitation. Imagine, if you will, a dark energy, a locus of negative power residing within the earth, waiting to be awoken.
Yeah, sounds terrifying. Are there any local legends or folklore that support the theory of a pre-existing entity tied to this land?
There are whispers of ancient rituals performed on the land, ceremonies conducted by druids or other practitioners of forgotten arts. Some believe these rituals were intended to harness the earth's energy, while others suggest they were attempts to bind something dark, something powerful, something elemental.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
If it's so ancient, why hasn't it manifested elsewhere? Like, is it specifically tied to the Leap Castle?
Perhaps the castle, built upon the nexus of dark energy, acts as a conduit, an amplifier, focusing and intensifying the elemental's power? Or perhaps the sheer weight of human suffering within the castle walls, the centuries of violence and betrayal, has provided subsistence for this malevolent entity, allowing it to thrive in a place steeped in darkness. Another theory attributes the elemental's presence to a dark sorcerer, a man named Gerald Fitzgerald, an ancestor of the infamous Wizard Earl of Kildare. Legend has it that Gerald, skilled in the dark arts, summoned the elemental to drive the castle's inhabitants to madness, hoping to claim the fortress for his own.
Well, that sounds like something straight out of a Gothic novel. Is there any, historical evidence that supports the story of Gerald Fitzgerald and his dark magic?
While concrete evidence is scarce, the Fitzgerald family has long been associated with tales of magic and the supernatural. Gerald's alleged involvement with the elemental falls squarely within his family's penchant for dabbling in the occult.
So if he was the one that was summoning it, why wasn't he able to control it? And why didn't he claim the castle for himself?
Perhaps he underestimated the entity's power, losing control of the very force he sought to harness, or perhaps the elemental had its own agenda, its own malevolent designs that went beyond Gerald's ambitions. The story suggests that instead of serving him, it turned against him, becoming a plague upon the castle and all who resided within. And then there's the theory that links the elemental to Mildred Darby's occult practices. Mildred, as we discussed in the previous episode, was fascinated by the supernatural. She held seances within the castle walls, attempting to communicate with the spirit of the past. Did her dabbling in the occult, her attempt to pierce the veil between worlds, inadvertently open a doorway to something far more sinister than she could have imagined?
So, not that I can feel like I can talk about it, but it seems to be like a reoccurring thing or theme within haunted locations. Someone attempting to communicate with the other side and inadvertently unleashing something terrible. Do you think Mildred Darby's actions directly caused the elemental to manifest or simply awakened a dormant entity?
I think it's impossible to say with certainty whether Mildred caused the elemental's manifestation or simply exacerbated an existing presence. However, the timing is undeniably suspicious. The significant increase in paranormal activity, particularly encounters with the elemental, coincide with her occult experiments, whatever that word is, right? especially after disturbing the oubliette. So,
were there any specific incidents that happened during Mildred's seances that suggested that she may have contacted something sinister or malevolent?
Yeah, Mildred's diaries detailed several unsettling occurrences during her seances. Objects moving on their own, disembodied voices whispering her name, a sudden overwhelming sense of dread. One entity in particular described a chilling encounter. From Mildred's diary itself, the air grew thick, heavy, as if the storm were brewing within the very walls of the castle. The candles flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed the living things. A stench of sulfur filled the room, suffocating, and then I felt it, a presence, cold and malevolent, standing just behind me. I dared not turn, my heart pounding in my chest like a trapped bird. A whisper, raspy and guttural, spoke my name, a voice that seemed to emanate from the very stones themselves. Mildred, it hissed. I am here. I tried to speak, to ask its name, its purpose, but my voice was trapped in my throat. Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped me like a vice. I felt a touch, icy fingers like claws digging into my shoulders. Then it was gone. The air cleared, the candles steadied, the sulfurous stench dissipated. But the fear remained, a cold knot in my stomach, a chilling reminder that I had touched something unholy.
Do you think Mildred was actually communicating with the elemental? Or could this have been a manifestation of her own fears and anxieties, amplified within that castle?
It's certainly possible that the oppressive atmosphere of Leap Castle, combined with her own fascination with the occult, might have heightened Mildred's suggestibility, leading to a subjective experience. However, the consistencies of descriptions of the elemental across multiple accounts, including those from individuals who had no knowledge of Mildred's experiences, suggests something more real was at play.
That's weird. After what happened, did Mildred keep up with her occult stuff? Or did the experience scare her off?
While this particular encounter clearly shook her, Mildred's diaries revealed a complex relationship with the supernatural. She seemed to both terrified and fascinating by the forces she believed she was contacting, a dangerous combination of fear and allure that drove her deeper into her occult explorations. Regardless of its origins, the elemental remains the most terrifying presence within Leap Castle. Encounters with this entity are not mere ghostly apparitions. They are visceral, often violent experiences that leave a lasting impact on those unfortunate enough to cross its path.
So I'm kind of curious if you could describe some of the different types of encounters people had with the elemental. What do they experience? What do these experiences typically entail?
Yeah, so encounters with the elemental range from unsettling feelings of dread and unseen presences to full-blown physical manifestations, and even attacks. Some feel its icy touch, a grip on their shoulders, or a brush against their skin that leaves them paralyzed with fear. Others have seen it materialize before them, its grotesque form flickering in the shadows, its empty eyes burning into their souls. And then there are the most disturbing accounts, those who have felt the elemental pass through them. These penetrations, as some have called them, are not merely unsettling. They are profoundly disturbing experiences that leave lasting psychological scars. Those who have endured this violation speak of nausea, overwhelming weakness, a bone-chilling cold that seeps into the very marrow, and terrifying sensation of dying. It's as if the very life form is being drained, their connection to reality severed by this malevolent entity. They emerge from these encounters shaken, disoriented, and often deeply traumatized. The memory of the experience, the visceral horror of being violated by something unseen yet undeniably present, lingers for years, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within Leap Castle.
So there's not much that I'd be like, wow, that sounds horrible. Let me not go there. But this one does
Right?
for sure sound like that.
Right, I agree.
Are there any documented long-term physical or psychological effects on those who have experienced these quote-unquote penetrations?
Yeah. While concrete medical documentation is understandably scarce, anecdotal evidence suggests that encounters with the elemental, particularly these penetrations, can leave lasting psychological trauma. Individuals report chronic anxiety, reoccurring nightmares, panic attacks, and a deep-seated fear of the dark, of enclosed spaces, and of being alone.
Do you believe the elemental feeds off of the terror and suffering of its victims? Is that what drives its wicked nature?
It's a chilling thought, but one that aligns with many cultural beliefs about malevolent entities. The idea that fear, like some sort of psychic energy, can sustain and empower such creatures is a reoccurring theme in folklore and mythology. Perhaps the elemental thrives on the terror it inflicts, drawing strength from the very act of violence. Let's explore other chilling encounters. One that occurred more recently. A group of paranormal investigators, armed with the latest technology, decided to spend a night within Leap Castle's walls. They set up cameras, EMF meters, and recording devices throughout the castle, hoping to capture evidence of the paranormal activity that has made this place so infamous. They were, of course, particularly interested in the elemental.
So, have any of these like modern investigations yielded any like concrete evidence of the elemental, or no?
While some intriguing anomalies have been recorded, unexplained temperature fluctuations, strange electronic disturbances, and embodied voices captured on audio, definitive proof of the elemental remains elusive. The nature of these paranormal makes them difficult to quantify, to definitively categorize as paranormal.
Do you think tools like EMF meters and recorders actually work when it comes to catching proof of paranormal stuff like the elemental?
Whether technology can truly capture essence of these entities is debatable. Some believe these tools simply measure natural phenomenons that are misinterpreted as paranormal. Others suggest that these entities exist on a different plane, a different frequency, making them difficult, if not impossible, to capture with our current technology. However, the investigators' experience within Leap Castle suggests that something is present, something that defies easily explanations.
I'm curious, is there anything out there right now in the world where they videotaped it, where you can watch it somewhere?
Not that I'm aware of. But there's a lot on Leap Castle, so I mean that'd definitely be something to look into. But not that I've heard of within all my research that I've done. So that would be cool though. I know I didn't look this up last time either. Like we found like the movie of The Other House. Like I wonder why they hadn't done something like that of this. Like it's so much. Like, but yeah. So as the night wore on within the castle walls, the investigators began to experience a growing sense of unease. The air grew heavy, the temperatures dropped, and the familiar stench of sulfur began to permeate the halls. They heard whispers, faint and indistinct, coming from the darkness. Then, one of the investigators, a young woman named Sarah, felt a cold touch on her arm. She turned, but saw nothing. Moments later, the lights flickered and died, plunging the castle into darkness. Panic gripped the investigators. They fumbled for their flashlights, their beams dancing nervously in the inky blackness. Then they heard it, a low, guttural growl, coming from the end of the corridor. Sarah, her heart pounding in her chest, pointed her flashlight down the hallway. And there it was, the elemental.
Be gone. See you later.
It stood at the edge of the light, a small, hunched figure shrouded in a blue-gray mist. Its face, a grotesque mask of decay, seemed to stare directly at Sarah, its empty sockets burning into her soul. A stench of sulfur intensified, choking the air. Sarah screamed, a primal cry of terror that echoed through the empty halls. The other investigators turned, their flashlights converging on the horrifying apparition. But just as quickly as it had appeared, the elemental vanished, dissolving into the shadow as if it had never been there.
No, thank you. That does sound literally terrifying.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, I feel like Shelley just asked this, but the investigators I guess they never captured any evidence of the elemental during this encounter. I mean, if they had their cameras recording stuff, they should have picked up something unusual, right?
Right. Well, while the investigators' cameras did capture the sudden darkness and Sarah's scream, the elemental itself remained elusive. The footage showed nothing but swirling shadows, dust motes dancing in their flashlight beams. However, the audio recording picked up something unsettling. A low, guttural growl, the same sound the investigators heard, was clearly audible on the recording, a chilling reminder of the entity's presence.
How did the whole thing impact Sarah? Did she, like the other investigator you mentioned, end up dealing with any lasting mental or emotional trauma?
Yeah, Sarah understandably was deeply shaken by the encounter. She, like the investigator before her, suffered from reoccurring nightmares, panic attacks, and an overwhelming sense of dread that persisted for months after the event. She too vowed never to return to Leap Castle. Surprise, surprise. The story of encounters with the elemental continue, each one adding another brushstroke to the portrait of this terrifying entity. Some encounters are fleeting glimpses of a shadowy figure in the peripheral, accompanied by a sudden chill and the unmistakable stench of sulfur. Others are more direct, more visceral, leaving the witnesses scared and traumatized. There's the story of a caretaker who claimed to have seen the elemental emerge from the oubliette itself, its skeletal form rising from the darkness like a specter of death. He fled the castle that night, never to return, his mind fractured by the horrifying sight. Another account speaks of a visitor who felt an icy breath on the back of his neck, followed by a raspy whisper in his ear, a voice that spoke of unimaginable horrors, of things that should never be uttered in the realm of the living. He stumbled from the castle, babbling incoherently, his sanity shattered by the encounter. These encounters, though terrifying, offer glimpses into the nature of the elemental. They suggest an entity that is not merely a restless spirit tied to a specific tragic event, but something far more ancient, more primal, more malevolent. It seems to delight in inflicting fear, in prying on the vulnerabilities of others who dare enter its domain. It's a predator, a parasite, feeding on the psychic energy of its victims, leaving them drained, shaken, and forever marked by its presence.
So, do you think the elemental is a demon or a malevolent spirit or something else entirely? I mean, I feel like the name gives it away for me, but...
Right, a little bit, huh? That's the question that haunts everyone who studies the lore of Leap Castle. Is it a demon, a spirit, a djinn, or something that defines categorization, you know? And I think that's what I said on the last episode. Like, maybe it's a whole new category that no one knows about, you know? I think I mentioned that last episode. But its behavior suggests a level of consciousness, a deliberate intent to inflict fear. It doesn't seem driven by typical motivations of restless spirits, unfinished business, a desire for revenge, or a longing for closure. It seems to exist solely to inflict pain, to spread fear, to revel in the suffering of others.
If it feeds on fear, does that mean it knows what it's doing and understands how it affects people?
This points to a disturbing possibility that the elemental is not merely a force of nature, but a sentient entity, a predator that consciously chooses to haunt within the confines of Leap Castle. It's terrifying. Something like that can even exist.
Yeah, really.
One particularly unsettling aspect of the elemental is its ability to infect those it encounters. While not all who experience its presence suffer long-term effects, some individuals seem to become conduits for its malevolence. They carry its darkness with them, spreading a contagious of fear and unease to those around them.
I don't. It's just such a crazy thought, I guess. Like when you say, I guess the name kind of messes with me a little bit for how people explain what it is. But, how does it like manifest in those who have been infected or whatever you want to call it by the elemental? Like, can you give examples?
Yeah, so there are stories of individuals who, after encountering the elemental, become withdrawn, paranoid, and prone to fits of rage. They experience vivid nightmares, often referring the elemental itself, and they report a constant sense of being watched, followed, even possessed.
That's what it made me think of. Possessed.
Yeah.
Is this like a psychological thing, maybe shared trauma, or do you think there's something more supernatural going on?
Whether this is a psychological phenomenon, a form of post-traumatic stress amplified by the shared experience, or something more supernatural, a kind of psychic infection is open to debate. However, the chilling consistencies of these accounts, the reoccurring theme of paranoia, dread, a sense of impending doom suggest something more than just psychological trauma. Leap Castle, with its bloody history and its malevolent entities, stand as a warning, a testament to the darkness that can fester in the human heart and the horrors that can linger long after perpetrators are gone. But it also serves as a grim reminder that some doors are best left unopened. Some secrets are best left undisturbed. The elemental, in many ways, embodies the very essence of Leap Castle. It's the culmination of centuries of violence, betrayal, and suffering, a dark entity that thrives on the negative energy that permeates these ancient walls. It's a chilling reminder that some places become repositories of darkness, absorbing the malevolence of human action and transforming it into something more.
So, with all the research of Leap Castle, like you've described mainly a nexus of negative energy, do you believe that certain locations are more susceptible to paranormal activity due to the history of violence and trauma?
Yeah, absolutely. Many believe that places where intense emotional trauma has occurred, particularly violence and death, can become imprinted with that negative energy. These locations become like psychic scars on a landscape, attracting and amplifying the paranormal activity.
Are there other places like Leap Castle where the history feels so heavy it actually shows up as paranormal activity?
Yeah, there are numerous locations around the world with similar reputations: battlefields, prisons, asylums, and other sites of human suffering often become hotspots for paranormal. These places serve as chilling reminders of the enduring power of the past and ways in which trauma actions can leave a lasting mark on the very fabric of reality. The stories of Leap Castle, particularly those concerning the elemental, raise profound questions about the nature of reality, the boundaries of human perception, and the terrifying possibilities that lie just beyond the veil of the known. Is the elemental a demon, a spirit, a psychic manifestation of collective trauma, or something else entirely? Is it a single entity or a manifestation of the darkness that permeates the castle itself?
So I feel like this question's kind of crazy, but do you, I don't know, do you feel like the elemental, like the possibility of these experiences are psychological in nature, perhaps a form of shared delusion or mass hysteria? I don't feel like it could be, but that's just me.
You know, while psychological factors undoubtedly play a role in shaping our perceptions and interpretations of unusual paranormal, dismissing all paranormal experience as mere delusions or hysteria would be a disservice to the genuine terror experienced by those who have encountered the elemental. The consistencies of the descriptions, the physical and psychological effects reported, and the sheer intensity of those encounters suggest something more than just a psychological phenomenon. I think it says a lot when, like, many people that don't know previous stories have, said,
Yeah.
given the same, like, emotions, feelings, all that stuff. So,
Or do you think that the elemental is something genuinely supernatural, like beyond what we can even explain with what we know right now?
perhaps the elemental and other entities like it represent a facade of reality that we are only beginning to understand. A realm that lies just beyond the grasp of our current scientific models. These encounters challenge our assumptions about the nature of consciousness, the boundaries of perception, and the very fabric of existence. Like I said, a couple other times before, to me, it's very possible that it's something we don't know about yet, as it's definitely dark and malevolent and
So creepy.
very creepy.
We'll be having dreams about this tonight, by the way. So
You're welcome. Leap Castle stands as a chilling testament to the enduring power of the past, the weight of human suffering, and the terrifying possibilities that lie hidden in the shadows. It's a place where history and horror intertwine, where the whispers of the shadows. Leap Castle stands as a chilling testament to the enduring power of the past, the weight of human suffering, and the terrifying possibility that lie hidden within its shadows. It's a place where history and horror intertwine, where the whispers of the dead mingle with the screams of the living. And at the heart of this darkness lurks the elemental. One of the most unsettling aspects of the elemental is its seemingly ability to manipulate its environment. There are stories of objects moving on their own within the castle walls, doors slamming shut, furniture shifting, and even fires igniting spontaneously. While some might attribute these occurrences to natural causes, drafts, settling foundations, or faulty wiring, the timing and the specific circumstances surrounding these events often suggest something more deliberate.
To me, I feel like with any spiritual ghost, anything, people will see that type of stuff. So is there any like specific examples of the elemental's alleged environmental manipulation within Leap Castle?
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people say that about every haunting house and supernatural type thing. So there's a story of a group of tourists exploring the castle who witnessed a heavy oak door slam shut in front of them. Seemingly of its own accord, there were no drafts, no other people in the vicinity, and the door was so heavy that it would have taken considerable force to close it with such speed. Another account tells for a chair rocking back and forth in an empty room as if occupied by an unseen presence. And perhaps the most chilling example is a reoccurring phenomenon of spontaneous fires within the castle. While some have been attributed to faulty wiring or other mundane causes, others have ignited in areas with no apparent source of ignition, fueling speculation of the elemental's involvement.
do you think this stuff happens to actually scare or hurt people? Or is it just what happens when the elemental is around, like leftover energy or something like that?
Whether these occurrences are deliberate attempts to scare or harm visitors, or simply manifestations of the elemental's presence, is open to interpretation. However, the timing and the specific circumstances often suggest a deliberate intent to unsettle, to create an atmosphere of fear and unease. So, I don't know, it seems really dark to me, so it's hard to say.
I wouldn't want to be around.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. So another theory about the elemental connects to its ancient practices of human sacrifice. Some believe that the land upon which Leap Castle stands was once a site of real ritualistic killings, a place where ancient peoples offered sacrifices to appease dark gods or spirits. Perhaps the elemental is a remnant of these ancient practices, a malevolent entity that was summoned or empowered by these acts of violence and has remained tethered to the land ever since.
Oh, that's kind of disturbing. Is there, like, I guess, historical evidence to support the theory of human sacrifice at Leap Castle?
While concrete evidence of realistic sacrifice at the specific site of Leap Castle is lacking, the practice was not uncommon in ancient cultures. It's possible that such rituals were performed in the surrounding area, contributing to an overall negative energy that permeates the land.
If those rituals really happened, how do you think that they might have created or made the elemental stronger?
The act of human sacrifice, with its intense emotional charge and the violent release of life force, could have served as a potent catalyst for creating or empowering a malevolent entity like the elemental. Perhaps it feeds on the residual energy of those sacrifices, drawing strength from the echoes of violence and despair that linger in the earth. The elemental's influence seemed to extend beyond the physical confines of Leap Castle. There are stories of individuals who, after visiting the castle, experienced unsettling phenomenon in their own homes. Objects moving, strange noises, sudden drops in temperatures, and vivid nightmares featuring the grotesque visage of the elemental. It's as if the entity or a fragment of its malevolence has attached itself to them, following them back to their own lives, infecting their personal spaces with its darkness.
Are there any common threads or patterns in these experiences outside of Leap Castle, or do they typically all involve people who had direct encounter with the elemental?
While not everyone who visits Leap Castle reports subsequent paranormal activities, those who do tend to have had particularly intense experiences within the castle walls, often involving direct or near encounters with the elemental, they describe a lingering sense of unease, a feeling of being watched, and persistent dread that follow them home.
Do you think it's possible that something like the elemental could latch onto somebody and follow people?
The idea of a paranormal entity attaching itself to a person is a common theme in folklore and mythology. Whether this is a literal attachment, a kind of psychic parasitum type thing, or a psychological phenomenon triggered by the trauma of this encounter, is open to interpretation. However, the chilling consistency of these accounts suggests that something is being carried away from Leap Castle. Something that extends its influences beyond the physical confines of its walls. And I definitely believe that that can happen, so.
I feel like that's what possession is, like.
Yeah, at least on some form, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and these people aren't acting different. They're just like, things are going home with, like, you know, they're moving objects at home, and
they feel like they're being watched, though.
Yeah, that too. Like, I don't know, that's crazy. Those type of things are why I would never go see Leap Castle.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want it following.
Because Wayne probably would not let me come back home.
So, you sleep in your van.
Right, now I'm not welcome in the house anymore. All right, so one particularly chilling account comes from a woman who visited Leap Castle with her family. While exploring the main hall, she felt a sudden chill, a sense of being watched, and the unmistakable stench of sulfur. She turned and she saw a fleeting glimpse of a small, hunched figure disappearing around a corner. Later that night, back in her own home, she awoke to find her bedroom freezing cold. The air was thick with the smell of sulfur, and she felt a weight on her chest, as if someone were sitting on her. She opened her eyes and saw the elemental standing over her, its grotesque face inches from her own. She screamed, and the entity vanished, but the experience left her deeply traumatized. The memory of its horrifying presence haunting her for years to come. Another account tells of a man who, after visiting Leap Castle, began experiencing vivid nightmares. He dreamt of being trapped in the oubliette, surrounding by skeletal remains, while the elemental watched him from above, its empty eye sockets burning into his soul. He would wake up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding, the stench of sulfur lingering in his nostrils. These nightmares continued for months, driving him to the brink of madness, until he finally sought help from a therapist specializing in trauma and paranormal experiences.
Dang, that's a thing.
These accounts paint a disturbing picture of the elemental's reach, suggesting that its influences can extend far beyond the physical confines of Leap Castle. It's a chilling thought, the idea that malevolent entities can attach itself to individuals, following them home, infecting their lives with its darkness. Perhaps these experiences are psychological in nature, manifestations of trauma and fear triggered by the visits of the castle, or perhaps something more sinister is at play. Perhaps the elemental, in some way, can truly extend its reach, its malevolence seeping into the lives of those who dare cross its path.
Yeah, that's terrifying. If the elemental can attach itself to people, is there any way to protect oneself from its influence after visiting the Leap Castle? Are there any rituals or precautions that somebody could take? I mean, I guess if there was a scientific proof that I could, then maybe I would visit, but I don't know.
Right? Yeah. There are various traditional beliefs and practices regarding protection from malevolent entities. Some suggest carrying protective amulets, burning sage, or reciting prayers or incantations. Others recommend grounding techniques, visualization exercises, and seeking support from spiritual advisors or therapists.
Do you think some people are more likely to get attached to or by something like this? Or are there certain traits or mental states that make someone more vulnerable?
Yeah, some believe that individuals with strong interest in the paranormal or those who are particularly sensitive to psychic energies might be more susceptible to attachment. Fear and anxiety can also lower one's defenses, making them more vulnerable to negative influences. Ultimately, the effectiveness of these protective measures is subjective and depends on individual beliefs and experiences. So, the mystery of the elemental continues to intrigue and terrify. It remains a chilling enigma, a shadowy figure lurking in the heart of Leap Castle. Its true nature and origin still shrouded in mystery. Is it a demon, a spirit, a psychic manifestation of the castle's dark history, or something else entirely? The answers, like whispers in the stone, remain elusive, challenging our understanding of the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural, the real and the imagined. One final account, perhaps the most unsettling of all, comes from a psychic medium who visited Leap Castle in the recent years. She claimed to have communicated directly with the elemental, describing it as being of immense age and malevolence, a creature that feeds on fear and suffering. She said that it spoke to her of ancient rituals, of human sacrifices, and of a darkness that predates human history. She warned that the elemental is growing stronger, its influence spreading beyond the castle walls, reaching out to the world, seeking new victims to feed its insatiable hunger. The elemental of Leap Castle, a chilling enigma, a terrifying mystery that continues to haunt those who dare to delve into its depths. We've explored its possible origins, from ancient earthbound entities to malevolent sorcerers and the unintended consequences of occult practices. We've examined the chilling accounts for those who have encountered this entity, the lasting psychological scars it leaves behind, and the unsettling possibilities of its influences spreading beyond the castle walls. But the story does not end here. So, and like I said, we may have a next episode, so I guess I'll say what could go into that. Do you guys want to hear, like, what would be the next possible?
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, themes and stories of it. I know it's not going to be next, as a heads up for everybody, but if anybody's interested, it'd be something to consider us moving forward with. So in the coming episodes, if we decide to get deeper into the history of Leap Castle, we could explore the lives and deaths of those who resided within its walls, searching for the clues that might shed light on the origin and the nature of the elemental. We could examine the architectural features of the castle, uncovering hidden chambers, secret passages, and forgotten spaces that may hold the key to understanding this terrifying entity. We will explore the ongoing investigations into the paranormal activity at Leap Castle, hearing from contemporary witnesses and paranormal experts who continue to seek answers to the mysteries that lie hidden within these ancient stones.
That'd be kind of cool to hear, though, like the more recent, like paranormal investigators and stuff.
Well, and the people's past lives too. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. I definitely think that this will be it for now, for a while. But if anybody's ever interested, or if you guys are interested or anything like that, we could definitely jump back to it and do some more.
Well, and spooky season's coming up. Couple months. Well,
yeah, so I definitely think we'll be throwing some more haunted places and haunted locations out there for that, for sure. It's not that close, Shelly, but it's coming up.
It's coming up.
I was thinking that too.
It's always that season to me, so
well, we can start in August.
Hey, Spirit Halloween opens in August. That means Halloween starts in August. That's always been my rule. Always said that.
We have a couple months.
Right.
June, July.
Yeah, so I think that is gonna be it for this episode. Thank you everybody for hanging out and listening and joining us again on this Wednesday.
Yeah, hope you have a good day.
Have an awesome rest of your week.
Yep. Have a great week. Bye.
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 That's it for this episode of the 28th Angle Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow us on our socials at the 28th Angle Podcast for more updates and behind-the-scenes content.
Until next time, keep looking at life from every angle.
Especially the 28th.